Bruce Johnson, president and founder of BizScalers and the BizScalers Club, and today I want to talk to you about how to fix virtually any employee problem you will ever have. And one of the great joys of being a business owner / entrepreneur is the joy of being able to hire other people. That's the good news. Being able to put food on the table for them, helping them fulfill their dreams and the dreams of their family, creating leverage for you and your company so you can help more people, and being able to know that you can help those people become better people because of the time they're spending with you. I mean, those are all great things. Of course, like most things in life, the good news also has some bad news, and the bad news is that when you're hiring other people, it often means that you're going to also bring along some other problems. And for a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs, and this might be true for you, the thought of hiring other people is kind of a good news, bad news story, and it's the fear of, oh no, more problems. So I want to eliminate that other part. I want to reduce the fear that you have about hiring people and want to increase the expectation and the joy of being able to hire more people so you can create more leverage and take care of them and their families. So how do you do that? Well, if you have a framework for how to handle employee problems, it makes life infinitely easier. Now, before I get to the 5 questions I'm going to give you today that you can help solve virtually any employee problem, I want to remind you that there are 2 things that you should think about before you actually get to these 5 questions. The first one is that if you hire right, you can eliminate the vast majority of problems. In fact, the rule is 80% of managing is hiring. So if you hire right, which of course is a problem for a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs because they really don't have a good business process for how they're going to hire people, so they end up hiring a lot of people that they probably shouldn't have hired. So if you hire better, you can eliminate a lot of those problems. That's good. The second one I addressed last week in last week's podcast / video, in which case I talked about how to eliminate them by creating a better culture. So if you get the hiring right and the culture right, that's the good news. You can eliminate the vast majority of problems before you even get to these 5 questions. Now, let's say you've done the hiring right and you've done the culture right. Now what comes up are these 5 questions. And if you ask these 5 questions, you can solve virtually every single employee problem you will ever have. So question number 1 is, are my expectations clear, or were my expectations clear? I would tell you based on experience that the vast majority of the times when you have an employee and they're not performing well, it's usually because your expectations weren't clear up front. And I know that because I've been coaching people for a couple decades now. Typically it'll happen like this. Well, I told them to go out and get more sales. Okay, well, how clear is that? Well, it's a clear expectation, yeah, but how many sales, from what kind of people, how many calls did you expect them to make? And well, it's obvious. No, it's not obvious. So what tends to happen in most employee problems is that you have an expectation that they don't have because you didn't clearly communicate that. So if you have a salesperson, for example, and they're sitting around the office and you're getting ticked off, well, it might be because you've never explained to them your expectation is that I don't want you sitting at a desk. Like I want you out, let's just say 4 or 5, 6 hours a day, or whatever the expectation is. Clarify that expectation, or I expect you to make 20 phone calls a day. Be clear on what the expectation is. You're going to probably find in most of the times when an employee has a bad performance or has an issue from your perspective, it's almost always because the expectation really wasn't clear up front. So that's number 1. Now, if the expectation is clear, there are only 4 other options. This is pretty cool, right? There are only 4 other options. It's either a skill issue, it's a knowledge issue, it's a character issue, or finally, it's a motivation issue. That's it, just 4. So question number 2, picks up the number 1, is this a skill issue? Now, you're trying to figure out, is it or isn't? Well, just ask the question, is this something that this person has done before? If the case is they haven't done it before, probably the solution is, I need to do some training. And by the way, saying, go watch this video is not training. Okay, so number 1, it's a skill issue. Have they done it? If they haven't, then you got to do some training. If it's something that they have done, then you say, is this something they've done frequently? If they've only done it once or twice or maybe 3 times, maybe you need to do some more training. Now, if it is something that they've done and they've done frequently, then you'd simply know you need to have a crucial conversation with them because something's not firing, and you might have to put them under a performance improvement plan, or you might actually have to let them go. I mean, that could happen. But the first question is it a skill question? Now, if you look at this person, you go, I don't think it's a skill issue, then you go to number 2, which is the 3rd question. And the second one, which is the 3rd question, would be, is this a knowledge issue? In fact, the reason I have the whole BizScalers Club is because I think fundamentally the issue for most business owners and entrepreneurs, and the reason why they can't succeed, is because they don't know what they don't know. And if you don't know something, you can't by definition execute on that thing. So if you don't know strategy well, then you can't develop great strategy. If you don't know leadership well, you can't execute great leadership. Right? It's all about knowledge. So it might be for you that you have some people that they simply don't know what you know, and therefore they can't complete the task. It's not really a skill issue, it's a knowledge issue. So let's say you take somebody from your team and they're really doing great as an operator, and you move them into a position where they're now a leader. And your expectation is that they should do that job well. Whoa, whoa, whoa. To go from an operator to being a leader, there's an awful lot you have to learn. In fact, I do a weekly leadership lesson for the people in Scalability Club, and the reason I do that is because I know there's an awful lot about leadership that most, quote, leaders don't know about leadership. So my guess is there are a lot of things about leading that your people don't know. Now you have to inform them of those things, and then all of a sudden the problem will eradicate. Remember, the difficult thing is that once you know something, it's hard to remember what it's like to not know that thing. But my guess is there are a lot of things that you're getting ticked off by your employees. It's simply a knowledge issue because you know something they don't. Inform them of that thing, eradicate the problem. That leads us to the third option, which is question number 4. The third option is a character issue. So the fourth question is this a character issue? Now, this is the hardest one of all because character is very, very difficult to change. That's why in the hiring process we use here in BizScalers, the first C of the 5 C's is character. If someone doesn't have the right character, never ever hire them because in general, people will always revert to what their character is. So if it's a character issue, you need to have a crucial conversation. And if not, and if they're not willing to make the changes, then either it's a performance improvement plan or you got to let them go. But character issues are really critical. That's why you want to hire ahead of time so you don't have to deal with that conversation. But character is the hardest of all of the options. The last option, the fourth option, which is question number 5, is it a motivation issue? Now, frequently it's just simply motivation. So what could be demotivating them? Well, it might be that there's a disincentive in your system. I'll give you a classic example. I've done a lot of work for law firms over the years. And one of the disincentives in a law firm is that all of the rewards are related to billable hours. But then law firms want people to, develop talent, and they want them to serve on committees and do all these other things. But guess what? There's no reward for this. All the rewards are over here. So you can say all day long, I want you to develop talent, I want you to do this. But people realize that if I want to make more money, the bonus pool is completely divided by this, then I'm going to focus in on the issues related to billable hours. So there might be a disincentive, and you have to change the incentive plan in your company to incentivize people for that right action. Or it could simply be that right now there is no incentive for them to perform in the way you want them. I'll give you a classic example. Right now I'm recording this at the end of the year. There's 7 weeks left in the calendar year when I'm recording this. Guess what? As an owner, entrepreneur, you're excited about trying to crush the last 7 weeks. Your salaried people have no real incentive to do anything harder than they've done before. So it might be that you have to ratchet up and change and add some incentives so that they're going to say, hey, you know what, if I really crushed it the last 7 weeks, I could make a couple extra grand here, and that would allow me to go on vacation next year. Like, that sounds pretty cool. Let me do that. So it might be you have to add an incentive to get them more motivated. Again, this is only if there's a problem. Or the last option, and this is very simple, is they simply might need some encouragement. We go around looking at our job and all the things we have to do, and sometimes we just don't stop long enough to think about them and what's going on in their world. And it might be that it's been a long time since we came alongside them and just said, I really appreciate you and what you're doing. You're doing a great job. I really believe in you. You need to cast some vision for them. And all of a sudden, problems eradicated. They just didn't have any motivation, right? So when you think about it, employee problems aren't all that hard. They're just 5 questions. Were my expectations clear? And if they weren't, clarify the expectations. If they were clear, then it's only one of 4 options. Either it's a skill issue, a knowledge issue, a character issue, or finally, it's a motivation issue. If you have that framework, it makes solving virtually any problem that you have with an employee infinitely easy to resolve because you only got 5 options. 5 questions can get rid of almost every problem. Now, I hope that was helpful for you. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you get excited about hiring more people because as you put more people to work, it's better for everybody in the economy. It's better for your community. It's better for your company because now you're creating more leverage. And it's really great for them because you're going to help develop them and help them become a better person. Everybody wins when you stop being afraid of hiring and you have a framework to solve any problem that might arise. Now, hopefully this was helpful for you as you're working on building and scaling up your company and making it more profitable. I hope if you haven't subscribed yet, that you subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching this by video, or subscribe by your podcast channel if you're listening to this by podcast, because my commitment to you each and every week is to bring you actionable content that can help you build a more scalable and profitable business. If you need to contact me, you can always do that anytime at bizscalers.com or bruce@bizscalers.com. And until next week, to your accelerated success, Bruce out.